Hey everybody, how's it going tonight? Another installment of the Michael Dunn investigation. So here's where we left off. Michael Dunn, we've watched the full hour of his interrogation. So he has pretty much given up his, I guess, given enough information to really make himself look guilty, and he realizes he's in a lot of trouble. We've watched his girlfriend's, the first, I guess, 15 minutes of his girlfriend's interrogation. It's not interrogation, it's more of an interview. And what I will say, she's been very forthcoming. And what we're finding is we're getting a more measured view of what's happened from a third party perspective. Now, the police have had, they have had, they've interviewed people who witnessed the actual shooting. Her testimony is going to be compelling because she is the fiance of Michael Dunn, and I think her side of the story really helps paint a picture because she's in the car when they pull away. She's able to comment on what he's saying, and it really helps show what intentions he has. Andrew's going to be joining us in a bit, but I thought I would get us started just to get us up to speed. And yeah, let's get started with this.
And I know that's an automatic rifle.
An automatic rifle?
Yeah.
Okay. Does he, and I know when we talked to him, he said I guess.
So they're going over, if you didn't watch last night, they're going over what guns he has. So we've confirmed that they've had a few drinks. They were stopping for a bottle of wine. And now she's described seeing Michael Dunn sitting in his driver's seat, half out his car, turned around, but she can't quite see a gun. And they're asking her about what guns he does have.
He shoots out the pistol club a bunch. How often did you go out there and shoot?
Well, I got the membership for Father's Day last year.
Okay.
And it wasn't until and he would go maybe once a month. And then for my son's birthday, we got him a membership because he was interested in shooting as well. And so I went ahead and got one too, because I'm like, so, do something with the boys.
Right.
And so probably, I would say right around the time my son and I joined, we probably went twice a month, but I don't believe that he's gone more than once a month.
It's generally once, maybe twice in a month he generally goes.
Yeah, he's not there every weekend.
Gotcha. When you all go, is there any kind of, do they offer any kind of, is it just stand and shoot at targets kind of thing, or do they offer any kind of training of any kind that you know of?
They offer, I don't know if they offer training, but you have to show them that you know how to handle the gun properly before they'll give you a membership.
So interesting. He probably then shoots a couple times a month. And when I listened to him in the interview, he obviously knew about guns. He was very switched on about the kind of gun he had. It's a bit of a hobby for him. And just to add a bit of context, he had his gun in the glove box because his belly had gotten too big for the gun to sit on his holster, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. But this is somebody who was very passionate about guns.
Okay, so they won't just let anybody go out on the range until they know you can safely. Right. You're not going to shoot other people if they're range.
Yeah.
What's up, DVA?
Okay. Okay, back to.
I'm too old to know what that icon is.
Now, when you're getting in the car, do you see the red SUV anywhere?
No.
Okay.
What's up, Andrew?
Hello.
So we haven't gotten too far. I've just done a quick intro. It wasn't the best intro I've ever done, but it was decent enough. And they're still going over the arsenal that Michael Dunn has. So that's all we've gotten to so far.
I'm sure you were a regular homer in introducing this
oh
segment.
my God. I fucking killed it. All right.
Once you went into the store, did you ever see the red? Do you remember seeing the red SUV again?
When I went into the store, I was aware that there was a red vehicle parked next to us.
Right, because it had loud music playing.
Exactly. But I just really paid.
Other than that, you wouldn't have even probably noticed it. Did you notice who was in the car? Didn't you pay attention to it?
No.
Okay. Very normally, just walking in the store.
Exactly.
Okay. Get in the car.
I was wondering, do you think he made a thing about that red SUV before she got out of the car? So I'm wondering if she just didn't want to pay attention to it.
Well, what I'm noticing is she's saying, like, I wouldn't have noticed it except for the music. But I mean, it's a minor point, I suppose. But also, didn't her fiance make a remark?
Yeah, that's what I
That
mean.
also
He said
yeah.
that. Well, it's hard to miss because there's people not parking next to it because the music was so loud.
Sure, yeah.
And I probably, I don't know if I would probably, I don't really care. I would just ignore it and walk in. But I'm 6'3" and about 300 pounds, so I can kind of get away with that.
I also wouldn't care. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, not my car, not my business. If I don't like
Yeah.
it, I could park someplace else. It just doesn't faze me.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is in Florida, and you have to assume if you're going into it like some sort of a 7-Eleven, you've got like a 30% chance of getting shot. So I think you've accepted the odds by the time you've gone out there.
I thought you were going to go the other way, that this is Florida, and you have to understand that your chances that you're bothering an octogenarian are like 1 in 1.5.
It's the second you cross state lines, you've done it.
Pulls out to leave. What's the conversation like in the car?
Well, I asked him, what happened?
Right.
That's what I said. I said, what happened?
So for anybody just tuning in who hasn't caught any of the interrogation, either Michael Dunn's or I think her name's Rhonda. It's up there, Rhonda Ruhr. This is right after he is shot at the cars, killed. I think it's Joshua Davis. I don't remember the name. I need to double check that. It's really disrespectful on my part, to be fair. And describing now what happens. He's come out of the I don't know if it was a 7-Eleven or what it was. What happened when you get in the car?
And he said, I shot at the car. And I'm like, we're moving at this time.
Right.
And I said, what car? And he said, the one with the music. And I said, why? And he said, because they threatened to kill me. And I'm like, I don't understand, Michael. And he just said that he asked them nicely to turn down their music.
Questionable.
One of them in the car turned it down. Then somebody in the car said, we don't have to turn our music down for that asshole, or, you know.
Can I stop it there
And
real
honestly,
quick?
I don't
Yeah,
remember
sure.
the
By the way, it's
password.
Jordan Davis.
Jordan Davis, and apologies for that. So this is actually a very accurate view, I think, of what's happened, because he wasn't very clear. And I know that a lot of times when you talk about honesty, it's when you sort of muffle around, you know, the truth. I think they call it. I saw a YouTube channel that talked about they do body language, fading facts, and when you're trying to convey facts that are incriminating to you or something like that, you muffle through them or dick about them. And she's giving a very clear account of what he is saying they said to him in that conversation to a greater degree, and I believe her account is way more accurate.
Yeah, I mean, she sounds. I mean, it's hard to know, right? I guess unless you compare her statement to the statements of, say, Witness 7, I think is his designation, the other guy who parked in the back of the lot, or the cashier, to the degree that the cashier saw any of this unfold. I mean, you know, you're comparing statements, but she does again come across as, you know, you're reading body language. Look at the way she's sitting.
Yeah,
you know, literally open, which, you know, is conveying a kind of, you know, forthrightness.
Everything she's doing is very forthright. I'm just really intrigued. I've rewound it a little bit. This is a really interesting explanation now, because he just muffled through. They just said something to the effect of, I'm going to kill that bitch. I'm going to kill that bitch. And she's added a whole layer of context to that conversation in the first sentence.
Then somebody in the car said, we don't have to turn our music down for that asshole, or, you know.
Yeah.
And he never says this. He never says this. My view is she is being very honest here, and I think that's very accurate.
And honestly, I don't remember the cuss words that were.
No, I know that. You can do the best of your knowledge.
Okay. But and then Michael said, are you talking to me? And he said, and then they threatened they threatened to kill me. They said they were cussing at him. They were exchanging cusses, and
then Michael said he was cussing back at him. When you said exchanging cussing, so they're
Yeah.
cussing back and forth,
Exactly.
is what he said.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of F words were being thrown
Thrown
around.
back and forth.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Michael said, and then they threatened to kill me, and I don't remember the exact words that he used, but it was like that they started, and I'm saying they,
Right.
and I don't know if it was they, or him.
But that's just how, okay, that's how he expressed it to you.
Yes, he said they started to advance and I reacted.
So he did maintain to his fiance. So just to recap, we don't have to listen to this guy to turn down our music. And then he said, they said, we're going to fucking kill this guy, and started to advance. So the advancing bit he explained to her. So he did say that to her.
Here's the thing. I'm even willing, although I don't think he's telling the truth, but even if this is 100% God's honest truth, that he asked them to turn the music down and they got snippy and started, maybe more than snippy. Let me not undersell it. They got even abusive, loud, cursing, maybe making vague threats like I'm going to effing kill you, etc. Listen, that is not a motive for murder. You know what I mean? Like, that's a motive to move your goddamn car. Yeah. And just like you are picking a fight for a very temporary situation. I mean, like, you're at most, even if everything had gone absolutely normally and without incident, we're talking about you'd be next to that car for what? Less than 5 minutes?
Yeah. And this is where you get somebody who's highly trained with a weapon. Their first reaction, let's argue that he's being advanced on. And let's even say that we can accept that some people can make a logical argument for pulling a gun out at that stage. I don't forget your opinion for a second.
Sure.
And now, if we say that's acceptable, I would say that somebody who's highly trained to use that weapon, their first reaction isn't going to be shoot somebody who's unarmed that's coming at you. So I think this is where we start to see that divergence of a citizen.
I'd like to agree with you, and I think that for most trained people, you're probably correct. But in all honesty, it's part of the problem with arming every police officer to the teeth, because you can train and train and train, but there's also a certain degree of, someone's innate personality involved. And when you see all these police shootings, and obviously some of them are justified. I don't mean that, obviously there are times when a police officer must defend him or herself in a completely justifiable way. But there are others where somebody just, and I think like the classic example, that happened fairly recently, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to remember the poor victim's name at this moment, nor am I going to remember the officer's name. I remember it happened in Minnesota. The officer drew and fired on a citizen, and because she was reaching for her taser and grabbed her gun, and she even says it right on the body cam, like, "Oh my God, I shot him." I was trying to get, like, she is shocked by herself. The officer is by the result of the action. But the point is that training is not a failsafe. So the idea that someone without any training should be running around,
I heard an interview with a gentleman. I don't know if you're familiar with who Jocko Willink is, who's a Navy SEAL. He's somebody who is, motivational speaker, but I think he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and they were asking him about, they were talking about defund the police but he was talking about how poorly undertrained American police officers are, how little time they spend. So you take a look at the average Navy SEAL, and their training in these situations is constantly ongoing, and they're talking hours and hours of training each month. And police just have like 6 weeks. I forget what he said. It was something to the effect that they spend a fraction of the time dealing in sort of this high level of training, not just with the weapons, but emotionally, mentally, decision making. Sure. And police are the ones who are actually more on the front lines and more dealing with these things. And I think, not to jump too far off piste here, but a lot of these shootings, I don't think, they go down the route of racism, and these are racist people, shooting at people. And I think in America, I think there's an element of race and prejudice that 100% comes into play. But when you arm everybody, when every civilian potentially has a gun, you then are in a life and death situation, and your biases and your prejudices come into play, and you're saving your life, and you are going to react, and your survival instincts are going to kick in. Your reaction time is going to kick in. Your conscious mind is not working.
Absolutely. Listen, go ahead.
I was going to say, it just takes a fuck ton of time to train somebody to be able to use that conscious mind.
Yeah, and it's because it's not natural. And listen, and I don't want to deviate too far from the path here either, but since we're on the subject, this is a good time to mention it. If for anybody who's listening to this, or for you, Sean, if you've not read the story, of, and I read the story. It's a remarkable story of an officer in West Virginia, Wheeling, West Virginia. His name is Stephen Mader. And he, like a lot of police officers, was ex-military and came into the civilian life. And what am I going to do? Well, what does his army training prepare him for? Most of all in civilian life, naturally enough, being a police officer. And without spoiling the end or whatever, essentially, one day he got called into a situation where and it was an African-American suspect, was, behaving erratically and had a weapon, not a gun, but a weapon. And he arrived on the scene first. Obviously, he had called for backup, or backup was on its way. And the long and the short of the story is that this officer was fired for not shooting the suspect.
Okay.
Not shooting the suspect. And what did he have? Military training that taught him, to be calmer and to assess the situation on a level that a local police officer is not trained in. And in the end, they decided that this officer, showed a failure to react in the moment, that he was not making a quick enough judgment and therefore endangered the lives of other officers. Other officers arrived and one of them shot and killed the suspect. He was fired for not having done that.
I think I'm going to look this up because that sounds like something maybe we should cover at some point.
Yes.
Interesting.
Okay. They started to advance and I reacted. Okay. When we talked to you the last time, I know you mentioned that he made comment that they said they were going to kick his ass. Is that inaccurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kick his ass. He was afraid that they were going to advance on him, I think was the term you used. Does that sound?
Yes.
Okay. So all that.
Right.
Okay.
So South Park.
They're
Are you
F-bombing
stepping
him.
to me? Are you stepping to me?
It's just a bunch of people. Yeah. And that's all it is. It's just a bunch of people yelling back and forth.
I'm going to right back.
Exactly.
Okay. Is that normal for him to, when he get into a verbal shouting match or
I
something?
have never, ever seen him exchange. And he is a very passionate guy in stuff that he believes in.
Right.
You get into politics, geez.
Yeah.
But I've never seen him lose his cool. Never seen him lose his cool.
Really?
Much less lose to that extent.
Okay.
Really?
I don't. I think. Well, I think there's a little creative license there. So I think to me, I get the impression she's a bit torn between her partner, and also I think she's very loyal to, her oath to tell the truth to the police.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wonder, because I've read that this gentleman had been abusive to his former wives, at least. And now she's only the fiance, so maybe the relationship had not yet progressed to that point.
He waits till their lockdown. Yeah.
Yeah. However, I do wonder, what does she mean by this? Does she mean I've never seen him shoot at anybody before? So that's like, I've never seen him. I mean, yeah, hopefully. But I have my doubts that she's never seen him really, really mad. And obviously the difference here, as we discussed last time, is he's had a few. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe you're right. I think there is an honest comparison to, have you ever seen him shoot out of his car at people? No. Yeah. So he hasn't. If that's her definition of losing his cool, then she's probably being fairly accurate.
What was his demeanor driving back? I mean, obviously he's been involved in a shooting.
Right.
Is he amped up? Is he, what's his demeanor like?
He was very amped up. I don't know, but you could tell he was nervous. Was
he shaking?
Yeah, he was shaking.
Adrenaline dump.
Exactly.
Okay.
It was more of an adrenaline kind of thing going on.
Okay. I mean, it was just physiologically normal.
Right.
Okay.
And then I asked him, I said, did you hurt anyone? And he said, no, I just shot at the car. And in my head,
shot at the car.
Should I be telling you what I was thinking?
Yeah, I think you already told us.
Okay.
Yeah, just tell me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm thinking, you stupid ass.
Okay.
What were you thinking? Why,
I
would
think
you
I
do
did
this?
hear this.
But I could see that he was already upset, and I didn't want to add to that.
Right.
So I kept.
Yeah, you bet you don't.
Okay.
Although maybe he emptied the revolver.
And
yes.
then by then,
you're safe then.
We were back at the hotel.
Okay.
Well,
The hell was
Did we
that?
discuss
I
anything
don't
about the
know. I
police
thought
or
you did
anything
that.
before getting back to the hotel?
No.
Or it was more just... you know what? We didn't say anything about the police, but there was a police officer across the street,
Mhm.
and I believe it was across the street, but I don't see very well at night. And all I know is that I saw, when we pulled into the gas station,
Right.
I remember seeing police
An officer
lights
across the street.
across the street
Uh-huh.
or, further in the parking lot, but it wasn't near where we were.
Right. It was completely across all the lanes of traffic on the opposite
Wait.
Is
side.
that where it was?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
Mm.
There was a cop across the street while this
No, this is-
incident took place?
After they left.
She
So
said when
they
they pulled
drove-
into the gas station.
Oh, I thought it was after they left. She was talking about after they
I
left.
mean, is that to you when you're pulling in? Does it seem like it's
I know it's far away,
farther
but
away?
I don't know how far away it is.
Okay.
So, but so with keeping in mind all the exchanges that had just happened and knowing that just before I went into the store, there was a police officer across the street.
I mean, he may have just pulled away. I'm sure of. I don't think a
She's
police
talking
officer.
about it again. She's talking about how she just went into the store and there was a police officer across the street.
She thinks, and this is it's difficult. I can't imagine that she's certain or if that's accurate to anything. That's that.
I don't know what difference it makes. It's just a little astounding that there's a cop right there, and they didn't catch this guy sooner.
I don't think there's. I don't put much stock into this memory or this recollection really.
I'm thinking that,
We're gonna stop.
yeah.
Well, she had a few
Okay.
too.
And
so.
when we get to the hotel, we go straight up to the room. I change, and Mike takes Charlie down to go potty.
So he takes the dog out for a walk.
Right.
Okay.
Nobody.
And-
Sorry,
That's
nobody
you
who's
did
a
it.
dog owner takes their dog to potty. I'm sorry. That's egregious in itself. Just
Yeah, we.
And the dog's been in a while, so you go to change his stuff.
Take your dog out. That's it. You don't take it to go potty. You take a little Pomeranian to go potty. You don't take an Alsatian.
Do
or
we
a
know
German
what kind of
Shepherd to go
dog it
potty.
was?
Yeah, actually, I think it was a little pug or something like that. It was like a little tiny little piece of shit dog. I love dogs.
These are like, this is clearly the kind of woman who will tell you that her dog is her baby and mean it.
Yeah,
So
Take care of the dog. I'll go out and walk him. Okay.
So, and again, I'm expecting any time a police officer.
Knock at the door?
Yeah. So there is on each of the floors in this hotel, they have like a little sitting room
Mhm.
by the elevators. So that's where I plopped myself.
You just sat there.
Yeah, I sat there because I thought, okay, what happened was wrong.
All right.
And if the police officer saw this, he's going to be here, and I've got to prepare myself for this.
Okay.
Okay?
Now Mike's back in the room at this.
No.
I'm just curious as to why she's not. So if this was my wife, she'd be like, "You're calling the police, right? You're not just gonna take Jojo to potty or whatever the name of the dog is. You are gonna call the cops. I'll take the dog out. You call the cops."
do you think she does that before or after she calls the lawyer to divorce you?
Well, that's a good point. She's probably not even in the car. She's actually back at the gas station while I'm pulling out.
I can't even imagine having a gun in the glove. Now, of course, I have a kid, so that makes it even that much more egregious. But also, that if my wife got back in the car and I told her, "Yeah, I fired this gun at a car that I did filled with people I don't know," what I mean?
I think there would be at this stage there would be a lot of confusion at the very least.
Sure.
There would be a lot
I
of.
would think that at the minimum she would want to call a hospital and say, "I think my husband has had a psychotic episode."
Yes. This is it's normal. It's normal apparently.
Well, he's still down.
He's still walking. Okay, he's still walking. You just get changed and then you go sit out.
And I sit down.
Okay.
And then Mike comes up, and he was like, I said, "I just can't believe that this happened," and he's, I know, and that's all really what we said. I know.
Okay.
I want to know how the so this is what I'm most interested in.
Did we
And
see the part, as we're talking about this, I remember in the piece that I watched to prepare for this, at one point when they're driving from the gas station to the hotel, he keeps saying to her, I love you, I love you.
Yeah, I remember that.
You. Yeah. I mean, that to me is also another big time tell.
That was on the way home.
Oh, it's on the way home from
the way home.
Yeah.
So he's had the night to figure out how fucked he is.
Yeah.
So the thing that I'm most interested in this whole case, and it's more of a study in relationships and communication, is I want to know how he brought up, let's order pizza. That is the thing that I want to know more than anything else. Because, I mean, the fact that he ordered the pizza after doing that, and she agreed, this guy is good. I like pizza. That's pretty damn good. I mean, think about it.
I was thinking that she wanted the pizza, and so
this is what we need to find out. I think this is the most important part of this case.
Yeah.
You'll go back to the room?
It is, without a doubt.
Any conversation in the room at that point, or is it just kind of silent tension?
Yeah, silence. And it's not tension. It's
it's that 600-pound gorilla in the room. Yeah. Nobody really wants to go and talk about.
Exactly.
Okay. Did you all eat dinner?
Well,
there we go.
They had served dinner at the wedding, but I didn't eat very much.
Right.
And my stomach was like,
right.
So I thought maybe,
food would calm it down.
Yeah, but it really didn't. I didn't eat much.
What did you have?
I had a pizza.
Okay. Did you guys order pizza? So you had somebody deliver it?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I can only imagine if I were in that spot. I mean, if he's a normal human being, in most respects, he's obviously not a normal human being. He's shot at the car, but knowing that you've really crossed the line, the adrenaline is an appetite suppressant, among other things. So I would think that he would not be interested in food.
I disagree.
Really?
I think if he's smart enough, he's going to want to smash the fuck out of that pizza because he's not having another pizza again after tomorrow. If I got to that stage, I would be like, you want to get 3 pizzas?
If he could think that far ahead, he wouldn't have shot in the car in the first place.
No. But I think hindsight being, 20/20, as they say, I think that evening he had time to think this is going to be, well, tonight at this point, he doesn't know that he's killed anybody as well. Right. So I think there is that. So he probably, he isn't quite.
Listen, the documentary I watched, it starts with a phone call from him from prison, presumably talking to his fiance here, and whining about how he's really the victim. He's really the victim. I don't know that the psychology of this guy. I don't know that he ever foresaw that he would not be. I mean, he obviously knew he'd done something wrong in like sort of a abstract sense. But that his life was over, that this was it, I don't know about that.
I personally, I think that he, at that stage, I think he, so I was just losing my thought. It's not very professional, sir. So I think at that point, he's not really, so when he's answering that phone, when he's making that call the next day, I think I got distracted and lost my thought. I'm just going to keep going with it. Sorry, guys.
You just call somebody out of the...
I asked the person down at the front desk to ask us.
Where a nearby pizza place was, and they recommended somebody to you? Okay.
Do you know if it was Pizza Hut, Papa John's?
No, I think it was more of a like a single owner store, not like a chain. I think there's a couple over there.
Okay, that's fine. And you paid for it? You remember?
No,
they got
Michael
the good
went
pizza.
Down. Michael went
down. They met him at the counter?
Yeah, because you have to have a key.
Oh, to get in the elevator?
Yeah.
Okay. Did the pizza guy call you to let you know he was there? Do you remember that, or did the front desk call you to let you know he was there?
No, the pizza guy called.
He called to say, "Hey, I'm downstairs. Can you come get it?" Okay.
So I think they're talking about how to get the pizza. I totally lost my train of thought with the phone ring, and apologies. So I
apologize that the phone rang. I didn't know it was on silent.
No,
and
we had 2 viewers, and at that point we lost a viewer. So I'm blaming you for that.
I apologize, viewers. I didn't know my phone was A, not on silent, and B, it was my boss's boss calling me, which was like, oh shoot, right.
She's watching, or he's watching. So they're checking how the minutia of how the pizza was delivered, and I'm wondering if they're determining, because can the pizza guy come up to the room? It's a single, one of those small pizza places, and I think what they're trying to do is determine whether it's worth speaking to the guy who delivered the pizza to get a little bit more intel on the state of mind of Michael.
Just goes down, gets pizza, comes back.
I think.
And then you say there's not a lot of conversation going on at that point.
There's absolutely no.
They're real. I'm really impressed at how detailed they're going through every minute, every sort of little piece of detail in this evening.
Well, I think this is pretty standard operating procedure, because what they're trying to do is get people to tell. I mean, it's a weird sort of hair you're splitting, because I know that the thing that is a red flag for police officers is if somebody can, in fact, and does tell the same story the same way, exactly the same way, verbatim, because it suggests rehearsal. But on the other hand, what you want is to, get as much detail as possible so you can then try to trip them up and get them to contradict themselves and whatnot.
Yeah, that's a good point. We'll go for another 10. And Andrew, I know you got to bounce soon.
Yes.
I'm going to go for another 10 minutes, maybe. Feel free to drop off if you have to at any point.
And I apologize for the phone.
No, don't worry about it. I don't want to keep. I know you've got some things going, so let me know when you do need to drop. I'm thinking about another 10, 15 minutes to anybody watching.
Or try to go to bed.
Like I said, I tried to eat. I couldn't, and I was just exhausted. And yes, I went to sleep.
Okay. What time you think that was that you finally went to sleep? No idea. Okay.
Well, I was about to ask, how the hell do you sleep? Like, even if I wasn't the one what did it, if I got into the car and my wife is like, yeah, you know that handgun that I keep in the glove compartment, honey?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, no, not really, but okay. I unloaded it into some car that was right over here, and we best be going now. I don't think I'd be sleeping. However, the booze. I got to keep reminding myself, the booze. The booze is the center of all of this.
I think, though, this is, for the most part, becoming a bit more innocuous because nothing has happened. As far as they're aware, they've just shot into a car. Nobody's hurt.
That is a crime. Even if nobody's hurt. Cars are worth money. You can't just shoot people's cars.
Well, you're taking this from the perspective of an intelligent, normal person. These are people who, I was being attacked, therefore I acted rationally. And she is getting sort of a very skewed, blurry version of what's going on. And she's been with this guy for long enough. I think she's just confused. And it's been the day of a wedding. Weddings are just absolutely knackering. So I think she's just crashing at this stage and doesn't it's weird, but it's not enough to keep her up all night. I think shooting at a car and believing no one's hurt is different than, she probably was thinking about it and then dozed off without realizing.
Yeah, I suppose.
There, you got
that's my view.
Did you put TV on? Did you,
The TV was on, yeah.
Just kind of something to have on? And,
yeah.
Okay.
Were you guys watching the news at all, or no?
No, it was a movie.
Okay.
Did you rent a movie or something, or just watching a movie on HBO or something?
TV,
Okay.
Gotta know whether the
So,
movie was
you
rented.
remember what time you woke up?
It was a good hotel.
It was early, probably around maybe 7.
Okay. Is the sun up?
Yes.
Okay, sun's up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you get up. Is Mike still sleeping, or is he up?
He is. He's in the bathroom.
He's in the bathroom. Okay. Just kind of walk me through kind of how the morning plays out.
Okay. So I got up and I start getting dressed, and the news is on, and that's when.
Did you intentionally turn it on, or it
No,
just
the
happened to be on?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the TV was on all night.
Okay.
He was probably
Happened to
watching
be
before
on.
he showered.
That's exactly right. Consciousness
So-
of guilt, Sean. Consciousness
Yeah.
of guilt. That's what they're looking for.
So that's when I see the news report, and I see the red SUV. Now, mind you, I had no idea what kind of vehicle they were in, but I knew it was red. And so I see the red SUV being towed, and all I hear are shooting, convenience store, loud music, And
And then I thought, well, it's Florida. That could be anywhere.
Yeah. This is standard operating procedure for Florida. This could be which convenience store, which red car. I need to, because we may be
Need to,
okay.
yeah, be much more
Yeah.
specific.
Which road was the shooting?
was dead or just one dead and I said Mike, and I turned around and he was standing in the doorway of the bathroom and he said, yes, I saw. And and then I said, we need to go home because I said, because right now I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be arrested too.
Okay.
Because I left the scene of a crime.
Right.
And
Well, that's
so
very
I'm
clear-headed of her.
Yeah.
okay, we need to get home. We need to get Charlie settled, and then we can go and we can talk to the Sebastian or the Satellite Beach police. I said, but we need to go. We need to get Charlie taken care of.
As a dog owner, I hate saying dog owner because they're family. I don't like that term. As somebody who has a familial dog, I actually understand this because in my head, I would be thinking, okay, this is bad. I may be stuck somewhere for a while. I don't want my dog to go into some kennel because to me, it's a person in a way. I totally get this part of the story. Let's get home and go see the police.
Yeah, I don't mind this. Like, she's basically making a plan to turn herself in.
Yes.
You know, that's fun.
And it 100% in my view, that's driven by the dog, and that is exactly what I would do.
Okay.
And so we packed up and we came home.
Okay. So you get your car and drive home.
Yes.
Do you stop at all coming home?
No.
Okay.
5-minute warning to
the
everybody.
house.
5-minute warning.
What's kind of how does that all play out?
He just kept telling me that he loved me.
The whole drive
Yeah,
down?
it is.
Yeah.
Were you guys really talking about it at all?
No, we were listening to the radio.
Imagine being hungover like he is.
I think
waking up the mother of all hangovers, knowing you murdered a guy. Now,
he is thinking about, like, in his mind, I imagine he's trying to think of every single narrative he can spin to make this okay. And he's also envisioning the questions they're going to be asking him. He's trying to really figure out how he's going to get out of this right now. And every time he says, I love you, he realizes he has put both of them in a bad position and he may not be getting married to her.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of things are going. I mean, there's part of him, I think, at this point that knows he's Fucked.
Yes. Royally. Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm sure you're right that, the wheels are already turning.
Yeah, he's working overtime trying to figure out how he's going to get out of this.
Then he would, turn it down and just say, I love you. And I know, but I'm dumbfounded.
Right. It's okay.
There's probably a bit of guilt too, because now it went from I'm shooting into a car and I've killed somebody. He does obviously care for her. And I think this is a bit of guilt because I say this to my wife when I'm in the shit, just to make sure that she's still on my team.
Oh, the what do you call it? Preemptive, defensive.
Yeah.
I love you. Like, I love you.
love you, babe.
Yeah.
You okay over there? I'm sorry.
Every married man knows what that means. What that is.
Yeah, I didn't mean to pull my dick out at the wedding. I'm sorry. Love you, babe. Love you.
It was just horrible. It was a horrible trip home.
Right.
And so no, I didn't want to hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
And
and it didn't work.
I was just
what do you think is going through her head here in this minute as she's telling this story? Because basically she's breaking down here a little bit, and there's a part of me as a human being that sort of wants to feel for her, but then there's a part of me that's like, your husband killed a kid.
Well, I feel for her, but you can feel for her and
sure,
and not not devalue what it means to the other family, because her life has just changed in a matter of 2 hours just at this point.
Oh, absolutely. But here's why I'm asking, like, what do you, because she, for the most part, we've talked about how open She almost sounds like she describes this as everything is sort of reasonable. Like she doesn't seem that shaken by the story that she's telling for most of it. I mean, this moment is sort of an exception where she's breaking down. She seems more like, I feel like I hear in her voice an expectation that the expectation that he has, that somehow it's going to work itself out and that they'll see that really, sure, did he overreact? But anybody would have in those circumstances. And, it's okay, pal, slap on the back, 6 months probation, try better next time.
I don't know that I read that into her voice. I mean, I think for her, there's a lot of things that are happening here that we have to take into account. The guy isn't a winner. And I bet she's now referencing all those parts in her brain that remember all those times he was an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now she's questioning,
I'm not hearing the questioning in her voice. I'm really not.
No, but you don't have to. I mean, for me, it sounds very transactional at points. And that's not somebody who is sad, to see her fella go into prison. This is somebody who's trying to do her duty and convey as much detail as she can to the police.
I will give her credit that she's not also, I mean, on the positive side of the ledger, she's not being overly defensive or defending his actions.
So I think there's some disassociation with her partner a bit. And now she's starting to relive how she felt. She's thinking about how she felt in her mind. And she's getting emotional now because this was the point. It went from shooting at a car, which is bad enough that she thought the police were going to come, to a life has been taken. And now she's having to relive this feeling and this thinking and this drive, this horrible drive, where this realization has come into play. And I think because she's reliving it, I think she's reliving the emotion as and when she had the emotion. So the night before, confusion, she's talking in a confused manner. And now she's talking about the time when she's emotional and this memory's triggering this feeling.
Sure.
Get us home.
Okay. So you get home, pull the car in. You guys are going inside.
I take Charlie out of his crate because he's in his crate in the back seat, and then I go take him outside to go potty.
Stop saying
Mike
that.
brings the crate in, and then when I walked back in the house is when I got the call from you.
Okay, or he answered.
He answered because my phone rang, and I looked at it, and I said, it's a 904 area code, and he said, oh, maybe it's, so I handed the phone to him.
I think we'll call it there because we'll listen to the rest of this later this week. I don't know which night we'll be on, either myself or the both of us, but that's where we'll leave it for now. We'll pick it up to DVA. Thanks for joining and watching, by the way. Andrew, any thoughts before we wrap up for tonight?
I mean, I'm thinking about that dog piece. I guess what I would love to know, and it's an alternate, sort of counterfactual. We'll never know. But what if the cops had not called right when she came back in from letting the dog go to the potty? How much longer was this going to go? Because she is, on the one hand, and I do understand, showing an awful lot of concern for her dog. And I think that's what would be so distasteful to me if I were the family of the shooting victim. Got to make sure the dog is taken care of before we start turning ourselves in. Got to make sure the dog is comfortable. Never mind that my son is dead.
Yeah, I don't. I'm going to give her again a bit of latitude on this because this is exactly what I would do as a dog owner after a long drive. So
Sure.
Think about it: is your kid in the car? You wouldn't just okay, we're just going to check the kid in the house and run, even if he's like, let's say he's 8 or 9. So I have no problem with that. I think I get that though, and I think it's a fair point.
I have a dog.
Yeah.
Child does not equal dog.
I don't have a child, so it's a different perception to me. I don't have that experience of having a child, but again, if I was in that situation, I would very much think I would do the same thing, and it would not be in my mind because I don't know the people. I don't really know the situation.
I'm giving her a hard time, and I will grant that I'm sure she's still in a state of shock to some degree.
He should be getting, sorry, not to talk over you, but just to add a bit to this, he should be, you take care of the dog. I'm going to go to the police now. That's where like for me, even then, I would, if I was in his position, I would say, why don't you drive back and I'll go see the police, or something to that effect. I would want to, me personally, I would not want my partner to be involved in this whatsoever. I would want her distance from this as much as possible.
That is true. That is true. That would be fair of him to her. And so maybe I'm blaming her for things really that are just indicative of his callousness.
I question his callousness, however. I question his urgency when he finds out. You know, it's difficult, but the issue for me, it should be sitting with him. And and the reason I give her grace is again how forthcoming she's being about her fiance. She obviously knows how bad this looks. And how nothing she has said has backed him up. Hey, did you see the police? No, we didn't see the police. We ordered a pizza. He said, I love you. We drove back. It's like, okay, well, somebody's dead and we still have yet to do anything about this.
Right.
And even the police had to call you. So there's a lot of problems. And even she's the one who suggests we need to go to the police. He's never at one point said I should go to the police. So that's where we have it. But I think there's not much more to this. How much more do we have on this?
There's another half hour of this investigation.
Another half hour. Interesting.
But I mean, like, I think we're through the meat of, you know, of like what happened, you know, in the actual event. But hey, there it is.
Well, we may end that one there. We'll have a chat about this, whether we want to pick up any of the witness stories. I think we do have a good meat of the conversation, and maybe we need to do a quick wrap up stream when I get back from my vacation. But to everybody watching, thanks for tuning in. Please do subscribe. I don't know how it works on Twitch, so please do whatever you do on Twitch. And if you're watching this from Facebook and YouTube, please subscribe. Let us know what you want to talk about next. We're going to keep doing this. And to everyone, have a good night.